Good morning. Welcome to NewsWare's Trade Talk for Friday, January 16th. Okay, let's get into the action. Take a look at the S&Ps, which are trading higher. Listen, we're up 0.14%. We're continuing those gains. And you know what's leading the way to this morning? Tech stocks are continuing to show positive momentum. We've got to like to see that. Got industrial production data coming out later today. That's going to be the key economic data point. On the geopolitical front, White House officials have softened their rhetoric towards Iran. You've seen this, with President Trump's comments recently. However, the military posturing continues. There's multiple military assets like aircraft carriers that are changing direction and being repositioned into the Middle East. It's a source of concern. Separately, Denmark announced plans to expand its military footprint in Greenland. I mean, Denmark doesn't really have a big military, but they are willing to protect what they own. Listen, the market's focused. The market dynamics, they're pivoting. We're really moving towards the fourth quarter earnings releases. And, while Monday is a holiday, next week is going to start a big week for earnings releases. I mean, we got the calendar is pretty packed. I mean, we got Netflix, we got United Airlines, we got Johnson & Johnson, we got Travelers Group, we got GE, Procter & Gamble, Intel, and others are all scheduled to release next week. This morning, in early trading, we're seeing some gains in MTB and Regions Financials, RF. They're moving higher after their earnings announcement. So, okay, let's take a look over Europe and see what we see in terms of the action. In Germany, the DAX is down 66 points, or 0.26%. Not significant. Auto's a little weak. Industrial stocks are positive. So, we're seeing some mixed action there. The FTSE's flat. It's down 0.03%. Yeah, there's some weakness in mining and, energy shares kind of been weighing on the index. But oil's trading higher this morning, so you're kind of seeing that index trading flat, down 0.04% right now. Then we're looking at in France, the CAC. The CAC is down 57 points, or 0.69%, really leading the leg lower in Europe. But the move is really on domestic budgetary concerns, which is bearish for the French market. So that's really what's the overhang there. Turning over to Asia last night, you look at the Nikkei. The Nikkei fell another 174 points at 0.32%. Hey, listen, the yen strengthened. That's bad for equities. You saw weakness in retail. You saw weakness in pharma stocks. But they had a positive week, a really strong week, the Nikkei index. In Hong Kong, same thing. I mean, the market's up 2% for the week, but last night it fell 0.29%, or 78 points. And most sectors did trade lower, but for the week, it's still showing a gain. And then you get the Shanghai Composite in China, which was down 10 points, or 0.26%. There's caution in the air because China's got a lot of economic data that's going to be released on Sunday. They did signal, the Beijing did give indications that they're going to put potential limits on imports of those NVIDIA H200 chips. But that doesn't mean they won't be taking them in. That's another way to look at it. Also, then we're turning our attention over to oil, and oil is gaining. We got WTI at $60.04 a barrel. You got Brent at $64.61 a barrel. We're up over 1.3%. The geopolitical risks remain a key factor heading into a long weekend. Oil prices are essentially flat on the week, but, with the moving, military assets into the region and, moving personnel around, you got to wonder if, they're just preparing for a possible strike in Iran. But oil is trading higher on that news. Okay, now we're turning our attention over to earnings this morning. We're looking at PNC, Paul, Nancy, Charlie. I mean, listen, the stock's up 3.09% this morning because these guys delivered a beat of 67 cents on higher revenue. Then got Regions Financial, RF. They missed by 4 cents, and they did it on lower revenue. But the stock's down 3.93%. Not horrible. And last night we had JBHT, John Boy, Henry Tom. They released earnings, and they delivered. They delivered a beat as well. They beat by 9 cents, but it was done on lower revenue. That's what's causing the stock to slide this morning. It's down 5% this morning, but JBHT did deliver a beat last night. Upcoming Tuesday morning, you got 3M, Minnesota Manufacturing. EPS is $1.82. Expected move is 5.73%. Major broker just put out a negative commentary on 3M this morning. STX, Sam, Tom, X-Ray, Seagate, their EPS is $2.77. Expected move is 13.55% when they released Tuesday morning. Okay, let's move on into the economic data that's hitting the tape this morning. We got to start off with the industrial production data. I mean, the forecasts are calling for a pickup of 0.1% increase in output. Now, that's modest. If you look at this is for December, it's pretty much, still weak. The manufacturing activity is still weak, but it is predicting, a 0.1% increase. And that report comes out at 9:15 a.m. Then at 10 a.m., we get the housing market index. In terms of Fed speak, it still remains to be solid. I mean, you get Boston Fed Bank President Susan Collins. She's going to be speaking at 10:50 a.m. At 11 a.m., we're going to hear from Fed Governor Michelle Baumann. And then at 3:30 p.m., we're going to hear from Fed Vice Chair Philip Jefferson. Now, you got to remember, today marks the final day of the Fed commentary before the FOMC officials begin their blackout period, which starts on Saturday. And it typically does about 2 weeks, a week and a half before the FOMC meeting. Listen, the FOMC meeting, I don't see them doing anything. It's going to be about the press conference. And the press conference narrative is all going to be about, Powell and, the Justice Department's lawsuit. But I still think that they're going to keep rates the same. Okay, let's move on and let's see what's happening in the markets this morning. And, we're looking at our Dow stocks. It's pretty even. I mean, it's a pretty even mix, but the FANG stocks are trading higher. We're looking at some of the news behind the tape. And we got to start off with Amazon, ticker AMZN. Listen, the stock's up about 0.5% this morning, but they claim that their equity stake in Saks Fifth Avenue is now effectively worthless. What else do we see here? Google. BBC strikes a content deal with YouTube. That's positive. Meta removing 4.7 million accounts after Australia's age-related ban takes effect. Netflix and Sony Pictures announced a global Pay One licensing deal. That's positive. Moving on to Dow Jones 30 stocks. Apple to pay Google billions over time in that Gemini deal. Boeing, former Spirit workers tentatively approved the labor deal with Boeing. That's positive. In terms of merger news, Paramount P-Sky, they lost their bid for more Netflix deal information. In terms of catalyst calls for today, Deutsche Bank opens up a catalyst call on Flywire, FLYW. They call it a buy idea. Akami Technologies, AKAM, Citibank opens up a 90-day upside catalyst watch on the stock. Okay, let's move on to our pick of the day, which is Fifth Avenue Third Bancorp. That's FITB, Frank India Tom Boy. Listen, earnings are out Tuesday morning. I mean, the EPS is $1.01. Expected move is 6.83%. Yesterday's call volume, 3,973 versus 1,134. Open interest is flat but positive, 57K to 54K. Major brokers are light. They don't all cover it, but they are positive, the ones that do. But I want to get in a discount. Initially I'm thinking 48.80. If it trades down to, 48.50, I really think that would be a great opportunity to get in. So let's call it 48.70, 48.75 to 48.80. But we're watching for some weakness this morning. But that's my pick of the day. Fifth Third Bancorp, FITB, Frank India Tom Boy. Okay, let's move on and, see what's happening in the last 15 minutes or so. Sinclair provides update on merger proposal discussions with EW Scripps. FedEx files a registration statement for planned spinoff of FedEx Freight. Phillips 66, PSX, and Kinder Morgan launched second Western Gateway Pipeline open season. JP Morgan building a new banking team to advise on private markets. I don't think we're going to get it today, but it's possible that decision from the Supreme Court on the IEEPA tariffs could come this afternoon. They typically make statements Wednesday and Friday afternoons. UK regulators approved maximum dose of up to 7.2 milligrams per week of Wegovy for specific people in overweight people. Novo Nordisk owns Wegovy and VO. Chevron Partners was an Israeli firm in the natural gas field. Okay. One of the big concerns I always have with JP Morgan stock is, that I always feel that Jamie Dimon's going to leave soon. But he wants to stay in the job for at least 5 more years, he said. That's kind of positive. All right, that's all I'm seeing. Let's move on and let's talk about a stock of the day from yesterday, which was ticker ESTC, Alva, Sam, Tom, Charlie, Elastic. Listen, it was a mover. I mean, I was saying 73. Well, the stock opened up at 72.90. And then, that's below my 73 entry point. And then it ran and it hit a high of 76.42. I mean, there's your 1%. Take it, walk away. Did pull back, closed basically where it closed, at 72.81. But I got to tell you, it did hit that 76 mark, and that's well more than 1%. So, you got to call that a winner. You got to call that a winner. All right, traders, that concludes today's podcast. You guys know what to do. Let's go out there and let's make some green.